Shaga, and today on the show we have none other than Dr. Yasmin Rasyid here today. And I'm really thrilled to bring you Dr. Yasmin. She has been doing a lot of fantastic things. She's currently the Sustainability Director at Lendlease Malaysia. On top of that, we know her, of course, from who wears many hats and has been doing lots of incredible things, not just this year or last, but for the past 3 to 4 decades. So, Dr. Yasmin, how are you doing today, and how are things going on with you?
I'm doing fine, Bashaga. Thanks for having me. And happy Tuesday to everyone. It feels like I've gone through 7 days a week already by hanging in there with work. And I hope that the audience tuning in today will enjoy the session and will benefit from it.
Oh, I have no doubt about that, especially the value coming there.
Yeah.
Jump in. I'm hoping to get done about 3 different sessions, 3 different parts to it. So first, we'll talk a little bit about your background. I'm really thrilled, want to know more about your work in EcoKnights, as well as some of the upcoming projects. And then we'll move on to a little bit of questions that our community have gathered. And finally, we'll go on to bring our 2 friends over who are going to talk more about their social enterprise for you to give some feedback directly to them. So, Dr. Yasmin, before we move on into your part, tell me more about Lendlease Malaysia and how the sustainability element is fully implemented. As I understand, coming from a civil engineering background, that really interests me, and there's a lot of things going on. So, please.
Yeah. So, I'm currently in an exciting role as the country head of sustainability in Lendlease Malaysia. Lendlease is a global development company. I think in the traditional sense, it's more known as a construction or property development company. And I think it's exciting times now to look at innovating approaches within businesses and the corporate structure, especially companies that are really serious and about becoming more responsible about their impact towards the environment. So as a company, we clearly our business impacts the environment to a large extent. All of us need homes and spaces to work. We need structures, infrastructures, superstructures, buildings, and that makes the world go round economically and even socially. And while we realize the kind of impact we bring to society, it's also an element of development that can actually innovate a lot more, especially today with more access to technology, towards something more sustainable. So we've got a bold. Sorry, yeah, carry on.
No, I was just sorry to interrupt that. I was curious about the companies and the demand, because you mentioned a lot of companies and we need a lot of space. So how is the demand like, and how do you specifically inject the element of sustainability into the construction industry?
Well, the easiest would be to build green, to be a green building, to ensure that materials you use, the resources and materials you use are locally sourced, or maybe has less embodied carbon, can be substituted with more greener alternatives. But that's just the skeleton of a structure. More importantly is when the building is alive and functions and hosts people coming in and out, the air conditioning, the water, the energy, and how do you ensure that the building functions as a unit that, you know, first of all, you can measure the kind of carbon impact, carbon footprint it makes, and then what you're going to do to make the building function more efficiently. That's more from maybe the physical side, the environmental side. But a building is also a space that people go to. It creates social significance. It pulls people together. It is a space where people enjoy their culture, music, you name it. So allowing a space to function sustainably is not just about the built environment. sustainability is about how this space maybe creates employment opportunities. For instance, gives underprivileged communities a chance to be employed, or maybe is safe, secure, upholds values that are, you know, sentimental to the communities. So I'm beginning. Sustainability is a multi-dimensional system.
Approach.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, you cannot look at environmental and sustainability as just as a function of the environment or as a function of society. You got to look in totality, and all these dimensions kind of interrelate and interlink to each other as well. So it's a very complex beast to understand. But at the same time, there's also a lot of innovations happening on the ground that is mobilizing this beast to be eco-friendlier or to function more sustainably in the eyes of society. I hope
I'm
sufficient.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. That suffices. I'm so glad that it's taking a much more holistic approach rather than just focusing on one particular aspect, but going through the end results and all the way down to the community and how it interacts with them. Let's switch gears a little bit. I understand that you've been very, very active, especially with EcoKnights. But what I'm really interested or really curious about is the numerous numbers of projects under EcoKnights itself, like the film festival, Kuala Lumpur Eco Film Festival, the garbage to compost, and not just that, but you also help moderate and assist other future young leaders and groom them to pick up your EcoKnights. So how does that work? And I understand this year's right? How is that going on, especially with the current changes in how we are here today?
Yeah, so I think for the benefit of our audience, especially those that are hearing me for the first time, so Bashaga mentioned EcoKnights. EcoKnights is a social enterprise that I founded in 2005. Did I know I wanted to be a social entrepreneur? No. In fact, the term social entrepreneurship or social entrepreneur was very unheard of. I've never heard of it in 2005. It was something new for me in 2012 or 13, because suddenly someone sent me a link and said, hey, you're on this social entrepreneur list. And I'm like, what's a social entrepreneur? That opened up my eyes to this world of social entrepreneurship. But what I know is this: I was passionate about community work. I was passionate about, and I had this crazy vision. I had this crazy vision that no matter how small of an effort I was interested to do, I was going to do it, and I was going to try my best rather than sitting around and talk about it. I was going to try my best to take some action and create something that is personal to me, but at the same time positive for Malaysians and in general humanity. I think
I bet there was a lot of setbacks, especially when you started out, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, firstly, I had this crazy dream of, well, crazy ambition, which I was crazy enough to fund it myself as well. And then I would save whatever I was making to put into EcoKnights to start it, and to hire people. And I'm very lucky and fortunate to see how amazing it has grown, and how now today I've taken, actually for the last 2 years, I've taken a seat back, simply because I think the team, and for 15, some of my volunteers ended up becoming like my program managers and directors. So to see how EcoKnights is not just an organization that delivers programs and sustainability. EcoKnights was a home, was a family, that were, despite our differences, our different levels of education, our different levels of background, we knew what our north was. We knew why we were here. We knew why we were part of EcoKnights. And it was a bit heartbreaking when I made the decision 2 years ago that I was going to let the next young generation of EcoKnights to lead the organization. But that's exactly what I think it should be. EcoKnights should always be in the hands of the younger generation, who I bet are probably more creative and more knowledgeable and probably more motivated than the previous generation to do something, to go out there and champion something that can, I'm not saying change the world, it's so cliche, but if you can change the people around you and create a movement that is for the betterment of society and the environment, why not? Despite, and it doesn't matter what kind of skill sets you have as well. I think you need to look at what drives you and what drives your passion.
And I remember once you said, if I can change my family, then that's already a great start, echoing what you just said.
Yes, and you all know how hard it is to change families.
Oh, of course, especially starting from scratch and going up one by one, making those layers. So, Dr. Yasmin, how does the programs get developed? Usually when you have an idea, do you immediately put them into action? Do you immediately get the community to join it? Or is there like a long process that you actually think about to consult your team to execute?
Well, it depends. I mean, creativity is the key of it all when it comes to ideation. But ideas are cheap as well. Anyone can pluck an idea from the sky. It's how you research enough to substantiate the values of your ideas. Pick case studies or examples to validate what you feel about these ideas. I think that's the difference between just sitting on an idea and taking your idea and putting some action into it. As for the programs that we design, not all programs are born fundamentally from an idea. Some of these programs are born out of necessity and needs. So certain programs are deliberately designed once we've got enough data, enough information that helps educate and inform us on the needs of certain communities for such programs. Right. And because coming up with programs is very time intensive, it's also very resource intensive, and takes quite a lot of bandwidth and brain power. So you want to be very targeted with the kind of programs you want to run. And more importantly, how do you sustain, especially if your program is great, in creating really big results and impactful results, how do you sustain the continuity of such programs? And if these programs are proven to be good for community or whoever the intended end users are, what does it take to scale it up so that more people can benefit from such programs? So it goes through an evolution of multiple processes before you can look at how this program performs. So I tend to look at programs on a longitudinal scale. You can't, it's really hard to create impact if you cram everything in 2-3 months and expect to change people's behavior and change people's perception. I mean, we all know human behaviors ain't easy to change, and so it takes a bit of patience.
Right. Well, building on how you mentioned on keeping it and impacting long audience here, one of the best, and I would say something that really inspires me and my team over here is the Eco Film Festival, where Dr. Yasmin collects stories and ideas from all kinds of youths from all over the world. And it's international, anyone can participate. And it started over here in Kuala Lumpur. And this year it's running its, this year it's running into its 13th time, if I'm not mistaken. So perhaps, Doctor, do share with us a little bit about that and how one could participate and showcase their particular projects and social enterprises through this platform.
Well, Eco Film Fest is a pet project of mine in 2008 when I started realizing that the kind of materials out there about the environment, or at least the kind of materials available in this country, are quite limited communication materials, and uh, it's very doom and gloom. You know, when you talk about
Yeah.
environmental stories, it's always about, I don't know, in general, very sad. But I wanted to spin a different perspective that if I can, and you know how films, many of us love films, many of us have favorite films that have impacted us profoundly, change our perspectives, or understand certain things about life. And I felt the same way about how film can actually generate better understanding about sustainability for whichever audience. So it was literally in the mamak shop. We were having day tarik one evening, and I'm a film buff, and I wanted to basically create a platform that I could enjoy films, or at least have access to great films, at the same time benefit more Malaysians. So when Eco Film Fest was born in 2008, it was basically a very useful program to attract young people like you guys to enjoy films, to enjoy music, to enjoy shopping with consciousness, because all the vendors at the festival are either promoting green products or services, or nonprofits or social enterprises that are creating impact with their businesses. And what it is today is basically a sustainability fairground, where if you walk in, you choose to spend time watching movies, you can choose to spend time picking up a skill or two about sustainability through a variety of workshops, whether you're an 8-year-old, whether you're a 65-year-old. And if for the shopper in us, you can always look at shopping within and enhancing your consciousness as a consumer differently. So it has evolved over the years to be quite a household name now. And unfortunately, due to COVID, we are not able to hold a physical festival this year. But with every risk and with every challenge comes an opportunity as well. So we have always been thinking of a digital version of Clef, simply because we understand that not everyone can be physically with us at the festival. And this idea and the whole platform for it has been sitting with us for a couple of years. But it was never the right time to roll it out, because we're competing with so many more attractive elements out there in the digital world. And then when COVID came, miraculously, we saw an increase in demand in environmental, especially from some of our key stakeholders from the business side, corporate side, and from the government. And what was bumming us out, because we couldn't do the festival this year in October, it turned out to be a great opportunity for us to actually focus on running the festival as a digital festival on the website. And what it has created now is even greater access for more global citizens to actually come into our festival as a virtual audience, which is great for the films, which is great for promoting sustainability. And we're still running the film competition. We're still open for film students, except we will have a virtual green carpet this year instead of like a physical award ceremony. We'll just do a digital one, and everyone can be enjoying it from the comforts of their home without the need to drive to a festival, and be able to even view it on playback as well. So I guess what COVID has done is actually created a great opportunity for us to migrate to a digital platform. At the same time, the digital platform is also presenting many new tools for us to look at reaching out to more people.
Indeed, and that's really interesting, because it's one of a kind. There's nobody ever started that, and EcoKnights pioneered that as a beginning. So that is what really. Yes.
That no one thought of this. So
And the fact that this time it's going to be on a digital scale and opens up access to everyone. So for those of you watching, strongly suggest you to be a part of this. And Doctor, for the interest of time, I want to switch gears a little bit. So we do have Sachwinder lot of amazing stuff. His parts on he started many projects, two of which is small changes and pets, and he talks a lot about promoting animals as well as how to take the social entrepreneurship not just from a perspective of a doom and gloom, like you mentioned, but to sort of transform it into something that is much more approachable, I would say. Perhaps you could share more of your experience to him with his context. So I will bring Sachwinder up to the screen, and Sachwinder will be able to tell you more, and perhaps you could guide him or give some advice based on his experience there. And once that is done, we'll move on into more questions from the community.
Sure.
All right, so let's bring on Sachwinder. Sachwinder?
Yep. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes, hear you fine.
Awesome. Okay. Hi, Doctor. My name is Sachwinder. Okay, I'm actually a medical student from Perdana University. So recently, my colleagues and I, a group of medical students as well, we opened up a club called Pets Club. I know it's a bit cliche, but the purpose that we decided to open up a Pets Club was mainly it's because of the stigma where some people say that medical students have nothing to do with animals, right? So we wanted to prove them wrong. So that's why to break the stigma, and we decided to run an event which was actually for our MPU, but we wanted to do something impactful. Hence, we did a pets project last year, where we managed to raise about 7K in profit for the first time, and that was donated to two shelters to help them out. And the other one that our event was trying to tackle was how pets can help with mental health, since that's one of the main issue and a silent killer nowadays. So that's how the club came to form. That's about the Pets Club. And currently, we are trying to bring up new initiatives and posting up pictures on our social media to show the public, to bring awareness to the public on what is, how we can help strays and what are the initiatives that everyone can do. So currently, what we are doing is we are in collaboration with another group from INTI, who has the same goal as well, and they are raising funds to help this one shelter who's run by a lady who doesn't really have any a proper income, and she's taking care of strays. So we are trying to help them out, and in the future we're trying to get more collabs in this way. But what we have been getting in the recently was a few people have been approaching us on speaking about veganism. I hope so. Like the question, I'm not a vegan myself, but there's a question that keeps arising. So there's actually two parts. One is on veganism and one is on strays that I would like to ask you. So for on veganism, how exactly? Is veganism the future for sustainability? And will becoming a vegan be more sustainable to the environment? And how does that work? And also the other one is that on relation to strays, there's always this issue where they like a common argument would be that the strays overpopulate, and when strays overpopulate, not only do they disturb the surrounding neighborhood, they also disturb the environment. So is there an issue on how strays actually don't really the overwhelming amount of strays out there causes damage to the environment? And if there's actually, if that's really an issue, how the stress affect the environment, would there be a more practical way that we could do as an animal loving organization to avoid this problem?
Okay. So,
Sorry for the long message.
no, I'll answer the second question first, if you don't mind.
Awesome.
Maybe you want to turn your mic on mute.
All right, sure.
Yeah. So I'll tackle the stray question because I find it very interesting and intriguing. I personally don't think strays is hurting the environment or the world, but I think humans are the one that are the culprit, because if I would think, or I would feel that the situation with stray animals is because humans are not managing or being responsible towards their pets. And I see this particularly in the younger generation, like just a couple doors from my house. There was a house being rented out for college students. And as college students, I guess they wanted to have pets. Apart from puppies and kittens, this particular neighbor had a giant, like, chameleon lizard. And when things get a little bit fun in college, or when you start to get more responsibilities, animals that we initially wanted as pets sometimes get neglected. And there are many, many cases where after you're done with university, there's a lot of neglected pets as well. And these pets become strays. So I don't think strays are the problem. I think irresponsible management of pets by human beings is the problem. And in your campaign, while the sentiment and the emotion is about giving back love, giving back a proper home to these animals that are neglected, I think the key message here is, how do you educate anyone within your age range or your reach to be more responsible, to, instead of buying a purebred, adopt a stray, instead of being compulsive about having a pet because it's cool to have a little snake at home, and then realize if snake grows and then you got to feed, for first you feed it lizards and then you got to feed it chicken. It's a huge responsibility. And pets are lives too. So I think it's important during your events to look at flipping the narrative a little bit to focus on that human element about strays. I hope I've been helpful, Sash. On vegan.
Yeah, but sorry, just could I butt in a bit on that? So about that question, university students and them having pets and neglecting them do, I guess, does happen a lot as well. But I never really encountered it. But
Oh
how
yes, there
would
are
you
many,
approach?
and you'll be
Mhm,
surprised that there are many reptiles that have been rescued from abuse and tortures as well. Snakes,
mhm,
some found. I've got a friend who rescued basically snakes that are abandoned by owners. And I've seen with my own eyes snakes with cigarette butt burns, cigarette burns, um, clearly abused until these pets were aggressive. So I don't know what kind of human beings are out there that would want to have a pet and then abuse them, but strays happen simply because we just forgot about our responsibility taking care of them. So maybe go deeper into this subject matter. There are many social enterprises and many nonprofits out there. I mean, PAWS and SPCA are typical ones, but there are more out there that are, some are even specific to a specific species. If you heard of the Gibbon Society, the Gibbon Protection Association, these pets are rescued from pet owners despite it being illegal having a gibbon. And many of these people who own gibbons, baby gibbons, because they're so cute, or baby sun bears, are often celebrities. And it was actually a viral case in Malaysia just recently when a celebrity's house, someone caught a video of a bear looking out a window from a Malay celebrity's house. And she denied it. She told the press she thought it was a dog, but it's really ridiculous to think you have a dog, but it's actually a bear. I mean, a bear and a dog looks very different. I can't imagine how you can mix those two up. So, and these pets are traded illegally, like the star tortoises. I challenge the audience to go to a pet shop, and there will be some pet shops that will be trading things illegally. if you're familiar with Econo Power Center, there used to be a pet shop there about 19 years ago.
I think that's a little bit.
It had baby tigers on sale.
Wow.
This is just 20 years ago. Yeah. Obviously, it has shut down. It had exotic spiders on sale, endangered beetles on sale. But because when you go in, when you don't know, you go like, oh, so cute, you know, so interesting, so exciting. I've seen shops with piranhas. How can you have piranhas as pets, right? First of all, they don't even live here, but you manage to bring them in. A lot of pet shops also hold birds that are illegally. They're smuggled everywhere. So I think as a person who's really passionate about keeping animals and keeping animals well and healthy and not abusing it and ensuring that it's legal, there are many, many levels of understanding in terms of how the pet industry works. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. It's a money-making industry. And we subscribe to it. And it's not just in Malaysia, but it is globally everywhere. And yes, they end up becoming strays. And I bet many of you who listen to some famous celebrities also know that some of them are managing pets illegally. So this has to stop, because once they get neglected, once they realize, oh, shoot, this cat grows, this wild cat grows, and now it's bigger than me, and now it's got, you know, strong paws, it's going to hurt me. And what do? Run away and leave that animal? And that's going to hurt not just other people, but also the animal itself. So I hope I've been helpful there for you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Doctor, and thank you, Sash. Perhaps later on, if you have any more feedback or some further follow-up questions, Sash will pass it on.
I'll get back to you on the veganism.
All right. For the interest of time, Doctor, I hope if you don't mind, let's move on to our second guest over here, Alia. And Alia has been doing quite a bit. I will let her explain a little bit. It's very interesting social enterprise they've got here. And Alia, are you ready? Okay, let's see. Alia, whenever you're ready, okay, do bear in mind. Yep.
Alia.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah, hear you fine.
Nice.
Alia.
Okay, hi everyone. My name is Alia. I represent IMAX. That's short form for Immersion Experience for Malaysian Youth. So we are a nonprofit organization. We pair high school students with professionals. So these are experts working either in industry or academia. And we pair them for an internship placement. So basically our goal is for students to have practical learning and hands-on learning instead of just theoretical learning that they experience in class. And then, so our organization launched our program last year. And so looking forward for this year, we are targeting to have more students and partners participation. So I have a few questions for you, if you don't mind. My first question would be, do you have any advice for our organization in terms of reaching out to more students and partners? And by partners, what I mean by partners is the professionals that we are working with to pair with the students. And then secondly, we are a very, very young organization. We're only 2 years old. How do we start making connections with other organizations or NGOs? Because I feel like in Malaysia, there are a lot of NGOs that have the same goal, but we just haven't found each other yet. And I think collaboration with other organizations is important to make, programs and goals much more achievable, I guess. How do we as a very young organization find other organizations and collaborate with them? And for us to be more involved in the NGO scene.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it. Thank you.
So to your first question is, how do you attract more people, more partners to support your cause? Am I accurate? Yeah. And how do you then get on board knowing more NGOs out there and connect with them? I think it's fairly easy. Actually, I think it's even easier for you being in universities. I'm not sure which university you're from, Alia?
I'm from Michigan, Ann Arbor.
Ann Arbor, nice.
Yes.
Cool. I think, well, is your movement in Malaysia or in Michigan?
Yeah, so my NGO is in Malaysia. So I work with my team who are mostly in Malaysia.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's fairly easy. It's really about social networking. And you guys are probably the generation that does this best. Many of the more current and more impactful NGOs are very social media savvy. You can either find them through really good hashtags or through events platform. And especially before COVID, I don't think there would be a weekend that goes by without 4 or 5 volunteer or community work activities organized by these NGOs. I would leverage on first stalking them on social media and understanding what they do, and then deciding whether what they're doing is aligned to the goals, vision, mission of the organization of the movement that you have created. And I think when you understand your organizational needs as well, you should be able to identify what sort of partners that would really synergize with your work, that will either help grow your work or maybe work with organizations out there that can partner with you to scale up your work or maybe enhance your reach. I think partnership is definitely the defining element of this decade, because no one can actually do all these wonderful stuff alone. You really need really good partners and partners that have shared values with you. So number one, an easy thing to do is stalk them on social media. And you can tell from the followings, from the frequency of their posts, from the activities, you'll be able to study them a little bit better, at least from the social sphere. And then find an opportunity where you can immerse in some of the programs and activities that they organize. I think now with the lifting of the restrictions on the pandemic, there are activities now slowly coming back to life. And I would say by being there in such activities really is mind-blowing, not just in terms of the connections you can make, but also the kind of ideas that you will hear that you never thought of, or even find that right individual that could later on be, someone that can make a really good contribution to your movement or your organization. To be able to attract the right partners, to be able to communicate to the public so that you attract the right people to your movement, I think it's very important for you, for anyone actually, to identify what is the uniqueness of your organization and what is your theory of change. Where is your methodology and where is your vision on where you want to go in the future? For instance, for SASH could be, our goal by 2050 is to reduce the amount of stray population on the streets by 50%. That's a target. You give yourself a timeline, and that's your north. You're very clear what it takes to get there, or actually what you need to do to get there. In your case, what are the kind of tools that you use to ensure that you match students that are interested in specific kind of internships with the kind of right people out there? And how do you measure whether anyone who goes through your platform had great experiences with your internship programs? So when you create anything, any movement at all, any sorts of programs at all, it's important to define your vision, your goal, your objectives, the how am I going to get this done, and how am I measuring the impact of what I'm doing? So it's a little bit academic in the sense like you've got your hypothesis. I think by doing this, I can reduce illegal throwing of waste by 60% at this specific year. So I would encourage you to look at some of the amazing impact reports that NGOs have produced. I can share with you a link of our recent impact report. And I think by having a glimpse of such reports, you'll be able to have a clarity in terms of how these movements, NGOs or social enterprises deliver their cause, and deliver their cause with absolute accountability, with good governance, and with transparency. Yeah, I hope that has been helpful, Alia. And good luck.
Awesome. Right. Thank you so much, Doctor, and thank you so much, Alia. And it's very interesting to see so many youth from different parts of the world working internationally and looking for partnerships to collaborate even more.
Yeah, are all of you in American universities? It sounds like that.
Not. Well, apparently, yes, in this sense. Doctor, we are approaching our time here, but I really want to slip in one last question.
Sure.
And for our audience members here, if you guys aren't familiar, Dr. Yasmin has done a lot of incredible things. And one of those, which my question is based, is on how to take an existing platform or a business, a social that international, how do you bring it up into the next level? And Dr. Yasmin has a lot of experience in magic, especially with the accelerator programs, as well as mentorships from people and from other organizations. So Doctor, perhaps you could share with us a little bit on what mistakes that you see social enterprises, once they've reached a certain point, what mistakes they make, and how can they actually elevate it to the next level, in your opinion, from your perspective?
Well, I won't say mistake, but I would see a pattern. And then it's a pattern I've been observing as well. I think the true definition of social entrepreneurship or social enterprise is often looked at it from a mono lens, a mono perspective, to do good, to create positive impact for humanity, or for whatever reason you wanted to kickstart your social entrepreneurship journey. But fundamentally, many of us neglect the importance of ensuring that your social enterprise delivers and achieves what it set out to do. So I won't call this mistakes, but I say it's a pattern because I see a lot of people jumping into becoming a social enterprise because of a feel-good factor, but not realistic that it takes more than just a feel-good factor to sustain a social enterprise. Why I say this, a social enterprise, while doing good for people, needs to start thinking about being able to sustain its own functions and operations. So one common mistake I see is not having a business model, an impact-driven business model, to guide you along the way in your social entrepreneurship journey. And over years, I've seen many social entrepreneurs stop becoming social entrepreneurs because they get tired of doing good stuff. And they get tired that all the good stuff they're doing is not funded. And they get frustrated no one is funding it. And I think it becomes a vicious cycle where you're always trying to find funds to feed a machine that is not generating enough for you to sustain it. So if you look at the Malaysia's definition of social entrepreneurship, first and foremost, you must have a business model. You must have a business model that shows how you're going to make some profit. And I'm not talking about crazy profit, enough profit to run your organization, enough profit to pay the people that works for you, enough profit to pay electricity bills, your internet bills, to pay your website domain bills in order to survive. So the reality is becoming a social entrepreneur is just like becoming like any other entrepreneur, except you've got your heart bolted down a bit stronger. And with every dollar you use in your organization, you know it's to create social or environmental impact. So that's one, I guess, pattern I see. And it's such a waste to see a lot of social enterprises collapse because they didn't have a sustainable financing mechanism to fund the social enterprises needs. Number two would be probably identifying, if you don't have a business model, it's hard to be able to scale up as well. Especially once your social enterprise is doing good things and you go like, okay, I used to do, I used to be able to help 1,000 communities in 1 year. And then I realized that now 10,000 communities are coming to me to ask for help. How do I reach out to 10,000 communities? That means I need to scale. And many times, I think it is the mindset of the social entrepreneur. Some social entrepreneurs are very comfortable doing small projects and benefiting a local community. While when you need to scale up, you really need to start escalating your mindset to thinking, where are the elements that need to be in place to sustain the scaling up of an organization? So I think first and foremost, to run a successful social enterprise, you really need to beef up your business skills first. And that makes the world go round. If you cannot put food in your pocket, put money in your pocket, cannot put food on the plate, cannot support the needs of your organization, then I am afraid your social enterprise may have a shorter lifespan, despite all the good work that you do. And EcoKnights has been through that journey almost in a cyclical way. And I think one of the things why EcoKnights is still a local household name is because we were bold enough to pivot a lot of our business strategies or a lot of our business plans. We were able to actually organize and understand the DNA of EcoKnights even better. And I think that keeps work in EcoKnights exciting, because in our work, we move with human sentiments, human behavior, and what's current. Especially if you're running a social enterprise that evolves with the social landscape, you need to stay on top of what's current. You need to be able to master new technologies, new softwares. You need to be able to be aware of new elements, new studies out there that tells you about the psychology of human beings. If you're a tech social enterprise, you definitely need tech knowledge and be kept up to date on where the challenges with tech, where the grants, where the mobilizers for tech. So as a social entrepreneur, it's challenging, but I can guarantee you, if you've got the bandwidth, you've got the energy, you've got the capacity with it, is also a mind-blowing experience, because it grows you in so many ways. It grows you in so many dimensions, not just as an entrepreneur, but as a human being, in terms of understanding what is happening, what's going on in today's world, and how is my solution going to help solve that. So if you ask me today what a social entrepreneur is, I would say a social entrepreneur is a realistic problem solver. Right. And you're able to see problems out there, you're able to solve it, you're able to finance that solution, you're able to figure out how to work against or with policies with the right partners so that you can change and fix that problem and make things better for people. That's how I look at entrepreneurship.
Right. And yes, that's quite lengthy and detailed, full in. Maybe summarizing it together, figure out a good business model canvas, constantly innovate, constantly try out something new, and be a problem solver. For our audience here, for our Malaysian audience, earlier Dr. Yasmin mentioned a little bit about the guidelines. I will share with you the links to Malaysia's first ever social entrepreneurship guidelines that was released a couple of years back, which is definitely a clear, somewhat defining moment for social entrepreneurs, and as well as instruction.
It was a very historical day for me as well. we launched the first official national social entrepreneurship definition and accreditation program. So Malaysians are given the opportunity to carve a niche out in their entrepreneurship scape and create really, really awesome social enterprises and entrepreneurs out there. And I think you guys already know some of the local household names of social enterprises that
Oh yes,
wonderful
BGBG
job.
initiative.
Yeah.
How Russian managed to get the accreditation from Malaysia. That was a really meaningful moment, especially with the face masks and all the incredible efforts there.
So find the opportunity to get to enjoy some of the events and activities that these social enterprise organizes. It would definitely open up immediately your connection to the social entrepreneurship world. And if you're thinking of an internship, don't be shy to apply for an internship to any of the social enterprise. I can guarantee you it will be an exciting journey as an intern in one of these social enterprises.
Definitely. Awesome. For our global audiences, I will also include for you the necessary links down in the description on Dr. Yasmin's work, as well as the film festival, and all sorts of interesting content for you to do some further read up. And Dr. Yasmin, thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for being with us today, not only answering the questions, but actually interacting live with two of our friends over at Social Enterprises too. Really appreciate your time there.
No worries. Anytime. Thank you for having me, Prashada, and thank you for organizing this. And should there be any opportunities to come back on board, if they want to look at a bit of more mind expansion on this subject matter, I'll be more than happy to.
The pleasure is all ours. Okay, thank you so much. And for our audience members, this marks the end of our show here. This is Dr. Yasmin on the Shout Show.